The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade. Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
How do you use Zencastr? If you have thought about podcasting before and realize that you need a lot of different tools and services, those days are over. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create podcasts all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code Unfiltered10 and you'll get 30% off your first month off any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Sun and Swell Foods is the nation's first online plastic-free grocery store. Shop their assortment of delicious, healthy foods in plastic-free, compostable packaging. They are delicious, 100% plant-based, 100% gluten-free, 100% real foods, no added preservatives or ingredients. Come in compostable packaging. If you are looking for a more planet-friendly pantry, shop Sun and Swell and get 20% off site-wide when you go to sunandswellfoods.com and use promo code Unfiltered10 at checkout. That's 20% off your entire order when you use Unfiltered10 at sunandswellfoods.com. Welcome back to the Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here Kim Lengling, and we are here to speak about veterans living with PTSD. And we know that's an important topic where we know persons who have gone and defended our country, fought for us, come back, and they are dealing with a lot of issues, I would say, from the trauma that they have experienced while during war, or some experiences that they have had. So Kim is here with us to share her own personal experience and help us walk through it to find out, even if it is that we have family members or friends dealing with this, how best we can help them. So hi Kim, how are you?
I am wonderful, and thanks so much for having me on today. I've been looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to having you.
Well, thank you.
Yes. So Kim, I want you to share with us your personal experience and journey as a veteran living with PTSD.
Well, it's been quite a journey, actually, because it's been several decades now since I was in the military, and it was probably about 15 years after I was out, honorable discharge, and it was probably about 15 years after that where life started getting just a little tougher, and I wasn't feeling great physically or mentally. I felt very on edge, a lot, and I wasn't sure why. And then I wasn't feeling well. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I lost a whole lot of weight. I just wasn't well. I was not well, and my personality, and at that time as well, I thought, I don't know what's going on, but I'm strong. I can handle it. I'm just going to power through this. Well, life continues to happen. And at that time, there was a lot of big, actually life-altering things that were happening. There was 3 life-altering things that happened within 3 months of each other. And it was very hard and very stressful. And it brought me to my knees, literally to my knees, sobbing on my living room floor. I didn't understand what was going on. I felt like I was going crazy. I honestly felt like I was going crazy. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't catch my breath. Looking back now, I realize I had a massive panic attack. Massive panic attack. That was the first one that I had, the first of many. And it was several months after that friends of mine in the veteran post that I was involved in, they approached me. A couple of the guys, they were combat veterans, Vietnam combat veterans. And they approached me and said, and they always call me the kid because I'm 20 years younger than they are. And they said, okay, kid, we don't know the specifics of what's going on with you right now, but we recognize the signs. And if you don't get your butt to the VA and talk to somebody, we will drag you there. And I won't share what I said to them.
Right.
But it was no uncertain terms. I told them to, blow smoke somewhere else, that I was fine. I'm fine. I don't need any help. Rah, rah, rah,
Right.
And, but, lo and behold, they did drag me there kicking and screaming. A few weeks later, they did get me there, and I wasn't appreciative of it. I was mad at them. I had nothing to say to the counselor that they had me sitting in front of. And so for that first 45-minute session, I sat there with my arms crossed, just staring at this guy. And he just stared at me, and I'm sure he has dealt with worse than me, so, but that was the start. That was the start of me realizing, okay, there's something underlying going on. And I did continue to go back to that counselor because I knew, I was like, I can't live this way much longer. I was so sick. I had lost so much weight so quickly, wasn't sleeping, was smoking cigarettes like a chimney. It was just, I know it wasn't healthy. I had a young daughter I was raising, and I'm like, all right, I've got to pull myself together here. And so I did continue to go and learned. I was officially diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and with depression and anxiety, which goes along with it.
Right.
And from that point forward, now I hated having that designation put on me. I didn't like it because to me it was a sign of weakness.
Yes, understood.
And now I know better, but then it was like, that's a sign of weakness. This is ridiculous. I'm not weak. I'm one of the strongest people I know, that pride. I had to learn to put my pride to the side. And I also had to learn to just suck it up. Just suck it up, buttercup. You've got some issues. You need to deal with them so you can live a more peaceful, calm life.
Yes.
And that was the beginning of it, literally decades ago. And it's all this time later. I still do talk to a VA counselor every once in a while. And it's kind of like maintenance. And
going for checkup.
That's right. Because it's something PTSD for me. It's only my own personal experience. It is a part of me. I can't change history. I can't change what happened. I can only change how I deal with it going forward.
Yes, I agree.
I can't erase anything like people are trying to do nowadays, erasing history and things that have happened. You can't. And so now I am so much better able to deal with things. I can catch things before, like an anxiety attack. I can catch it before it comes full blown. Because I sit there and say, oh, it's creeping in. I can feel it creeping in. And so I have built up the tools in my little toolbox that I can pull out now and utilize them so I don't have a panic attack in the middle of the store when I'm getting groceries. So, I mean, and it's a journey. It is a journey, and it's a bumpy one for me. I can only speak for my own self, but It's been a bumpy journey, but it's also taught me a lot, and it's also allowed me to be more empathetic to others.
Yes.
And that's, it's kind of how the journey is. It's bumpy, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
Yes.
Because I now, like my veteran brothers all those years ago said, we notice the signs.
Mm-hmm.
I notice them right away in others.
Mm.
Right away.
And Kim, as you talk about the signs and what you can notice, what are some of the common triggers or symptoms of PTSD?
Common trigger. Well, for everybody, they're different for everybody because everybody's experience was different.
So what was yours?
For mine, I was sexually assaulted by 2 individuals.
Mm.
So for mine, the triggers for me, and it seems like they change every once in a while because a lot of stuff, sometimes something will pop up that I literally have not remembered or thought about in 30 years.
Mm.
And I'll be like, oh my gosh. And it'll stop you in your tracks.
Right.
Stops you in your tracks. But for me, smells can be a trigger. A certain song can be a trigger.
Right.
Small places, small rooms
Okay.
are a very big trigger for me. Having my face covered, very, very big trigger. Another trigger is being around too many people that I don't know because it's too hard to watch every single person at the same time. Situational awareness.
Wow.
So there are certain times, and it's not like that all the time because I enjoy going to, like concerts or shows and things like that where there are larger crowds. But for whatever reason, sometimes it'll just hit me and I'll be like, oh my goodness, I've got to pay attention. Kim, be on alert, be on alert, be on alert. And I don't always know why all of a sudden it's like, you have to be 100% alert right now and be completely situationally aware of everything that's going on around you and where everybody is and what they're doing and where their hands are. So that doesn't happen all the time, but it does still happen. So those are just a few that, and sometimes I just, like I said, I get surprised sometimes. But most times I can catch it. Or at least stop it because, the things that I've been able to learn over the years.
Understood. How has this impacted your life? I mean, you spoke about, the triggers, some of the triggers. So I'm assuming it would impact like going to the grocery store if there's a lot of persons there.
Yeah. Daily life. Now, this was years ago when I was just learning about it. It affected my daily life a lot.
Okay.
It was very difficult to maintain. That's how I always say, to maintain normalcy during the day, like to be at work and try and pretend nothing was wrong, to raise my daughter who was very young at the time and be the happy, put together mommy that she needed. That was very hard. I did a lot of crying in the shower.
Yeah.
I think a lot of moms do that regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the place where your kiddos aren't going to hear you. But I did do a lot of that, in the past years. Relationships, let's just say I have been married twice and divorced twice.
Oh, man.
Do you plan that? No. Absolutely not. But I do know, and I'm not one that's going to sit here and blame the other person. I would never do that. So I do know that it takes 2 to make stuff work. And I was one of those 2, so I do have to take some of the blame. Obviously, I honestly can't say, boy, that's, wow, that's a good question. Good question, Jade. Jeez Louise. Relationship wise, it's a tough one because no one wants to look at themselves in the mirror and say that you played a big part in trashing that.
Yeah.
But I do know in hindsight, I can be a very cold person. And that's a defense mechanism.
Right.
Where, I put my walls up and they're up.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I know I did that. And I also know that I come across because both of my ex-husbands have told me, you don't need anybody. You take care of yourself. You don't need me. You don't need anybody. And I would always get very defensive with that and say, "What, you knew I was a strong female when you married me, and now that bothers you." Um, and that's me being very honest.
Yeah.
I never saw that as a negative, but I also, this is hindsight years later,
Right.
that I can see why they would have thought, okay, she doesn't need anybody, so what's the point in me sticking around?
Right. Right.
I can see that. So I played a part in that. So in relationships back in the day, yeah.
But I applaud you for that, though, Kim. That's really good. That introspection is really, really good. Not many people would do that.
You're right.
So I applaud you for it. That was very good. That was very big.
Yeah, it's gosh, it's not easy to look at yourself in the mirror
No.
sometimes, because no one's perfect. No one is perfect. And if you can't see your own faults and at least try and work on them, then that in itself is a little bit of a problem,
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, so that's me.
Yeah. I love that though. I love that transparency. What are some misconceptions or stereotypes about PTSD that you'd like to address?
And this is one that has been around since they even started acknowledging this. Now, before it was called, shell shock and things like that, through each war, way back when they had different names for it. Now it just happens to be called post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm,
It has been looked at by many people in the past as, you hear PTSD, you think crazy veteran.
yes. Oh, yeah.
And that's still thought of by certain folks today.
Hmm.
And I've found that it's those that think that are completely uneducated on the topic, and they shouldn't be sharing their thoughts at all.
I was just about to say that they're uneducated if they're still having that mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a misconception, because I know, I am so entrenched in the veteran community and where I live, as well as nationally within the country, just because I have a lot of contacts and keep in touch with a lot of veterans, and a lot of things I do is veteran related.
Right.
And there's so many veterans that I know that live with PTSD, whether it's 10% or 100% post-traumatic stress disorder, are hugely successful, incredibly educated, talented, beautiful, giving people. So this, for people to think PTSD, oh, crazy veteran, you're so far off base.
But Kim, I'm gonna point fingers at television where that's concerned. That's a part of it. People tend to watch the television and believe everything that they see without reading up on it, to ensuring that what they are learning is aligned. Because normally on TV, when it is that you watch it and you see them talking about PTSD with veterans, you see people throwing stuff down, people trying to strangle their partners in bed, or trying to, cause some sort of problems. And that's where people get their education from. And I'm going to say education in quotes.
Right. Unfortunately, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of that is true. I know a couple of veterans personally who would have such horrible nightmares that they were so entrenched in their nightmare, they thought they were back where they were at, and they were physically trying to harm their spouse.
Yes.
I do know people that and it's just, that just crushes them. When they realize, when they're able to wake up, or if, their wife is able to wake them up, or whomever. That's extreme, at least from what I've noticed. Everybody has the ability to snap.
Yeah.
Whether you have PTSD or not.
Or not. That's true. That's true.
Depending upon the circumstance that life puts you in, everyone has the ability to snap. And no one can tell me any different.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you on
that. But there are veterans that struggle much, much more than I do. And they might have turned to drugs or alcohol.
Right.
And that just exacerbates the problem. That doesn't help the problem, but that helps numb them. So if you throw other things in like that, the whole personality changes. life changes, and that's when, unfortunately, people are, their marriages fall apart.
Yeah.
They lose their job. They become homeless, and it's just a downward spiral.
Right.
Now, but that's a small percentage of veterans,
Right.
and I don't think people realize that.
No.
And those folks, they don't want to be that way. That's not the life they want to live. They've just got themselves caught in a spiral where they're trying to numb everything and not face it. And because facing it's hard.
Yeah.
It rips you apart. It rips you apart to face it all and try and piece yourself back together again. It is one of the most difficult journeys I've ever personally been on. To have to face everything that you went through in great detail, talk about it, rip it apart, and then put yourself back together. That is not an easy thing to do. There's nothing weak. Like if you remember earlier, I said I looked at, being diagnosed with PTSD as a weakness. Now I know there is not a single thing that's weak about it, because no one knows the battles that I fight every day.
That's right.
And I'm still making it through every day with a smile on my face. And I'm still out there helping other veterans every day with a smile on my face.
That's right.
So those quietly fought battles take a tremendous amount of strength and a tremendous amount of courage. So there's nothing weak about someone that lives with PTSD. In fact, they are some of the strongest people I know.
I love that. Okay, what support systems and resources are available for veterans with PTSD?
Now, I know in my area, of course, the first thing that people are going to think about is the VA, the Veterans Administration.
Right.
They are putting together and have over, I would say, the last 15 years. They've got some really good programs for veterans. So especially the combat veterans, those that live with PTSD. There's many different programs and types of counseling that they can get. I strongly suggest that anybody might be dealing with some stuff. If they're a veteran, reach out to your local VA, reach out to behavioral health at the VA, and just get yourself in to talk to somebody and see where you can go from there. That, to me, that's first and foremost. I had to be drugged. Screaming. So don't let it get to that point. Get yourself there. Or if you're a loved one listening, you contact them and say you're worried about your loved one. That's the first thing, I think. There is the crisis hotline, which is, they've made it so easy now. It's 988 and press 1. Pressing 1 gets you to the Veteran Crisis Hotline. You need to talk to somebody. Dial that number, 988, and press 1. 24/7. Every day of the year, 24/7, someone is there qualified to listen and help and guide you. So those two are the two main things. Contact your VA, get set up, talk to a counselor. And you don't have to. This is another thing I want to make clear. The VA is going to assign a counselor to you. If you don't feel that you connect well with that counselor, you can request another one. You're not stuck with one person, because personalities aren't always going to gel.
Right.
So make sure that you get the right counselor for you and your circumstances. You have to feel comfortable with them. Right. Don't stick with someone just because you're thinking, oh, I have to because it's a counselor and I have this. Make sure that it's the right one for you. You can request another counselor. You're not stuck with one. And I've heard that from several veterans over the last couple of years saying, well, I was stuck with this one. No, you're not. You can request another counselor. And if you have an issue, then go to your local county veteran service officer. Every county in every state has one. They're typically located in your local county courthouse. Veteran service officer. Go to them and explain your situation, and they can help you immeasurably.
Right.
Those are the top 3 things that I think would be the most helpful. And I refer veterans to constantly those top 3 things, and I've used them myself.
Okay. Right. You had initially also said your family can also reach out if it is that you don't want to. But what else is it that they can do to assist in supporting veterans with PTSD?
Be empathetic if you're able to. And I know everybody's situation is different. I know, and I've talked to wives where their husbands came home and they were drinking constantly. They turned into raging alcoholics. They became mean. And the wives were just like, I need him out of my life.
Yes.
I honestly can understand why they would want that.
Right.
If they're able to find it in their heart, and I'm not saying stay with an abusive person. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
But on your own, if you can, maybe call someone. Like I just said, you can call that, a loved one or a spouse or family member can call 988 and press 1 to get advice and guidance. You can contact the VA and say, hey, I'm very worried about my veteran husband or my veteran son, my veteran grandson, what have you. And they can give you direction.
Okay.
So the best thing I think that you can do is, I know, unless you've been there, done that, and walked in their boots, you're not going to understand them completely. You might think you do. You might say you're trying to, and I know that you are, but you can't because you weren't there.
Right.
You didn't, and that's hard for a loved one to see someone they care about struggling and hurting so badly, and they're not able to do anything for them. Mm. But you can reach out to the VA or the veteran service officer or call that number 988 and just, share your concerns and they can give you guidance.
Sounds good. Kim, thank you so much for your transparency.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you so much for that. Also, we're the problem sometimes. And it's not that sometimes it's a bad problem, but we don't know how to use it in a positive way sometimes, which causes a bigger problem.
Right. Through this journey, which I'm still on, I have found that in the midst of darkness, you can still find blessings.
Yes.
So keep that in mind also, folks, yes. To those that might be listening. Mm-hmm. In the darkness, you can still find blessings. Mm-hmm. And when you come out on the other end, because if you're determined to, you're going to come out that other end.
Right.
And you're going to be like, holy crap, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at what I just came through.
Yeah.
And you can take that and help others. Take all that heaviness that you were carrying with you and what you learned, and you can turn around and you can be a light for someone else in that same spot because you know what it's like to be there.
Yes.
So that's, and that's what I've done and will continue to do. I've been doing that for the last 25 years and I'm going to keep on doing it because when you help someone else, you're also helping yourself.
Yes, you are. Continuously.
Yes, absolutely. And so, just if you're able to open up your heart enough to do that, please do so because I think you might be surprised by the change that comes. It might not come overnight, but I can say for a fact it won't come overnight. But one day you're going to wake up and you're going to feel just a little bit better than you did the day before.
Right.
And to me, that's a win.
Yes, it is. That's a start.
That's right. And every little small step forward is a win.
Yes, it is.
If the only thing you did today was brush your teeth and make your bed,
it's a win.
That's a win. We've all been there, and if you haven't, you will.
Yeah.
Life happens, and life can be really hard, really hard. So if you wake up someday and literally the only thing that you did was brush your teeth that day, it's a win.
It's a win.
That's right. It's a win, dear heart. You did it. You're still up. You got up. You woke up. That's a blessing.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. Kim, tell us where is it we can find you?
The easiest place to find me is on my website, which is my name, KimLenglingAuthor.com. I'll spell that, KIMLENGLING author.com. And there's my books are on there. My podcast is on there. My dog Dexter's on there because he's my office manager. So he's my office manager, and he will let me know when people contact me. So that is the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Thank you so much, Kim.
You are more than welcome. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. problem, Kim. And thank you so much to our listeners on the Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you. You can also purchase my book, Things Left Unsaid Before I Do, Diary of Gloria Adigold. This is on Amazon, and the link will be in the description below. Thank you.